Hi guys, in this video I'll be recapping episode 1 of Before the 90 Days, which covers the new couples for season 8. This time I'll cover Rick and Trisha, and Emma and Ziad. I'll be putting out another video this Friday that will introduce the remaining couples for the new season. If you're interested in recaps of reality shows like 90 Day Fiancé and Love is Blind, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll start with Rick, who's 52 from Los Angeles, and who looks great for his age. In his interview, he says he started a wig and extension business, but since that business is seasonal, he has other gigs. He also teaches tap dancing, and explains that his mom grew up in Shirley Temple movies, and put him and his sister in tap lessons when they were young. He likes to spend free time with his kids, and says he has 5 kids, of which 3 are grown, and he also has 2 young sons from his previous marriage. He loves being a dad, and considers it a blessing. He says his girlfriend's name is Trisha, and she's 25, and lives in Madagascar, and says when he first saw her picture, she was so adorable, and that in less than a week, he'll be going there to meet her for the first time. He loves to travel, and says on a recent trip, he met 2 women from Madagascar, and they were so beautiful that he went on a dating site to find someone from there. He calls her, and she says his kids make her want to have kids, and they make beautiful babies. He agrees they'd be beautiful, but says he already has 5. She says 3 are older, and he only has 2 young ones. So what's the problem? He tells her it'd be better if they can wait to talk about that, and she definitely seems annoyed. In his interview, he says even if he wanted another kid, he's not sure their relationship is there yet. He isn't sure he can trust her, because 2 weeks ago she ghosted him for 5 days. He's tried to discuss this with her, but it makes her angry, so he's still not sure what happened and needs to get to the truth when they meet. Later, he's at his sister's house for a barbecue. He says his family is close and gossips a lot. We also meet his oldest son and his dad. He tells his family he's been having dreams the past few years, and the vision he sees is exactly like Trish. His sister asks if he's convinced that's who he wants to marry. He says he was, but a few weeks ago she did things that made him question it, and he explains how she ghosted him. He says when she started talking to him again, she had an excuse, like her brother wrecked her motorcycle, and she was dealing with the police, and that she had an issue where her ex accused her of robbing his family's house. He says she cleared her name, but it doesn't sound right. I'm thinking, it sure doesn't, and his family's expressions say it all. In his sister's confessional, she says it sounds suspicious, and there's no reason Trish couldn't have communicated with him. She tells him maybe the ex is more involved than he thinks. In his confessional, he says the situation made him lose trust in her, and although he doesn't think she'd go back with her ex, the ex has money and he doesn't, and can't spoil her like that. In his experience, when someone acts like she did, they're hiding something. His sister asks if he questioned whether she was with someone else. He says he did ask, but she denied it. He says things are starting to go in the right direction, but he needs some answers. In his confessional, he says there's more to the story, and that when he didn't hear from her, something happened that she doesn't know about. He says sometimes you make choices that stay with you, and this one is haunting him. And they leave us on that cliffhanger. This segment was relatively short, but they should have more on this couple next time, when it looks like he arrives in Madagascar. It's hard to say too much at this point, since we haven't officially met Trish yet. But so far, what I've heard about her from him sounds shady. But we'll see how things progress. Now we'll move on to Emma, who's 27 and lives in LA. As long as she can remember, she's been a hopeless romantic, but says marriage has always felt like a fantasy and out of reach. They show her trying on wedding dresses. She says she wants to try on a few more, but in the staged scene, her friend says she's the one getting married. She feels like at this point she should have a family and kids, but instead is living with her sister Izzy. They're identical twins, and she says they both love beauty and Botox. She's an office manager at a spa, and her sister works across the street at a competing spa, and says that dynamic defines their competitive relationship. Other than their love for Botox, she says they're completely different, especially regarding men. She says Izzy takes her time, but Emma is boy crazy, and falls in love after one date or one shot of tequila. She and Izzy are in some yoga session with puppies. So how does that work? I mean, do they constantly bring in new puppies when the dogs age out? And would puppies that young even be potty trained? They're talking about how she's going to Morocco for someone named Ziad. Izzy says he's not a stand-up guy, and has the same red flags as the guys she dates in LA. Emma says her sister is always skeptical of who she's dating, because she doesn't have the greatest track record. But when she met Ziad, she fell for him right away. She says he's 27 and from Morocco. They show pictures of him, and he definitely looks like a player, and I see all the red flags Izzy was talking about. Emma says a year ago, she went on an international dating app, and within 5 minutes they were talking, and he was calling her his future wife, and says that sealed the deal. In a few days, she's flying to Morocco to see him, and she says she won't leave until she has a ring on her finger. She tells Izzy she hopes he'll give her the ring on her birthday. She tells Emma, do you remember the same scenario happened last year? And she mentions someone named Mohammed. In her interview, Emma explains that Ziad isn't her first Moroccan boyfriend, and last year she flew there to meet Mohammed, but he broke her heart. She says she wouldn't be going there if she wasn't sure this was different, but the main thing she's worried about is that Ziad doesn't know about that previous situation, and says she isn't sure what will happen when he finds out. Hi guys, just a reminder to please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks! Later, Emma's on the beach and calls Ziad. She asks if they can kiss at the airport, and he says yes. They're talking about what they'll do when she gets there as far as schmexy time. He asks what's her plan, and she tells him they'll pretty much do it all the first night. And he's like, nice. She asks what they'll do when she's there, and will he plan something for her birthday. He alludes to a surprise, but is keeping it under wraps. She says the plan is to get engaged, and asks if that'll happen, and he says he's not sure. From my perspective, she was trying so hard to get all the right angles on the call with Ziad that she wasn't paying attention to the fact that he seemed squirrely and not especially locked in. He kept shifting his eyes around and not directly answering her questions. And that's in addition to him outright saying he wasn't sure if they'll get engaged. I think for him, this is just a good time. So this will probably be the disaster Izzy anticipated. Later, she's packing for the trip and says how excited she is. She's talking about how much trouble it'll be to get her luggage downstairs, and then she just throws it down the staircase, which I've never seen someone do. Izzy and their brother Zach are there. Zach asks about a scarf she's taking, which I'm sure the producers planned for him to say, because why would he ask about a random scarf? Izzy says Mohammed's mom made that for Emma. In her confessional, Emma says she and Mohammed had good times together, but it ended terribly. She'd been visiting him in Morocco, and they got engaged. But when she was on the plane back to LA, she had a weird vibe, so she messaged the girls he was following, and it turned out he had almost 20 other girlfriends at the same time. After she landed, he sent her a text that said she's crazy and he's done, and she says she felt broken for a long time after that. Izzy asks why she'd bring something from Morocco, since he's going to ask about it, and Emma says she'll tell him everything. In her interview, she says Ziad thinks she was in Morocco recently with a friend. She hasn't told him about Mohammed yet, because when she and Ziad started talking, she and Mohammed were in shaky ground, and there was a little overlap between them. She and Ziad talked for a couple weeks, but she decided to work things out with Mohammed. But since that didn't work out, she picked back up with Ziad. She wants to tell Ziad, but is worried it'll change his mind about her. Izzy says it's messed up that she's hoping to get engaged, and he doesn't realize she was engaged a year ago. Zach tells her if it were him, it would be an instant breakup, and that most guys would feel this way. And she's like, don't say that, because you'll stress me out. In the car, she tells them she's thinking of just staying in Morocco. She's mostly joking, but says nothing's holding her back, since she was fired at work the day before, and her siblings are shocked. In her interview, she explains that there was a situation with an old friend she worked with, and someone else at work made an inappropriate comment to her friend. She didn't want to get involved, so she told HR she wasn't there when it happened, even though she was, so she was fired for withholding this info. This sounds pretty shady to me, since she was an office manager at the time. Izzy asks if she's still going when she doesn't have a job, and she was planning on paying for everything. In her interview, she says Ziad is a nurse and knows he doesn't make a lot of money, so she offered to pay for a rental in Marrakesh. She says she's a generous person, and lots of guys have taken advantage of that, but those guys didn't have jobs, and Ziad does, so she hopes when she's in Morocco, he'll be okay with her not paying for everything. The other guys all didn't have jobs? She really does have the worst track record. When she's in Paris for a layover, she says she got a text from Ziad and is worried everything he's been telling her was a lie, but she doesn't elaborate. They now show Ziad's perspective. He says he was born in Marrakesh, Morocco, and says Emma is his first love. He explains how he messaged her when he saw her picture, and how he said, "Hello, wifey," and she was very responsive. He says she's the first American woman he's dated, and that American women are open-minded. But in Morocco, they have rules he hopes she'll understand. Later, he's waiting outside the airport with flowers, and they show Emma in the airport bathroom changing and doing her makeup. He says everyone else leaves, but she stays there because she has to take more time. So clearly the resentment is already starting. She's finally out of the bathroom and trying to locate Ziad, and struggling with her massive luggage, and it's obvious she's not dressed for where she is at all. They finally see each other and embrace. She says she can't believe this day finally came, and they're saying how perfect they look. She asks him how her girlies look, and he says he's Muslim and doesn't want to talk about that, and she has to respect his religion. She says she does, but he told her they could kiss in public, and in his text when she was on the plane, he suddenly said they can't kiss in public. She asks why he waited till she got there to tell her this. He straight up lies, saying, "I remember I said it before," and she's like, "No." And they show the clip from their call, where he said it was okay for them to kiss at the airport. He explains that she didn't specify what kind of kiss, and that in Morocco, people kiss on the cheek, and that's okay, and he tries to show her, but she says no, he'll mess up her makeup. He's seemingly offended by this, and says that was the last kiss he'll try to give her, which I'm sure he's doing to turn this around on her. She's like, "So you're not going to kiss me anymore?" He says no, and she swears and walks off camera. She says she feels blindsided, and their conversations were about how much they wanted to touch each other, and it feels like he's been lying to her the whole time. I don't know how Emma doesn't see it, but to me, Ziad seems clearly unserious, and I'm curious how she can be 27 and so naive. Her sister seems years ahead of her as far as common sense. In the preview for the next episode, Emma's still there with him, so it seems like she just accepts being treated like this. Anyway, that's it for this video. In my next video coming out this Friday, I'll cover the remaining new couples. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.